Alright, here we got this done. Let me get you over here. I think it looks pretty good. Really good. I hope that I'm getting all the strings, but I don't know. I can't see that good. I had a problem with my tension, but I think I've got it fixed, and I got it looking good. I'm happy with it. It's got a candle, and it smells like brownies. Okay, we got this done, and now we have this one right here to do, along with the other one down there at the bottom. So now right here, what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to sew it down. I'll take my pins out because it does mess it up, and I don't like it. So let's see. We're going to see if I can't flatten it out. Okay. I'm going to scoot everything over that can be scooted over. Put another pin in it. Now this time, I think I'm going to try to do it without rolling it up, because I think maybe, just maybe, it may be coming to a problem. So, yeah, I think this is turning out really nice. I'm liking it. So I hope it continues that way. But I need to make sure I get all the pins out as I'm doing it off the block. So we're going to work on this now. Work on the block. And then we'll work on the outside here and over here. And then I still got this side to go. So we're going to work on this side right now.
Now is our time to get the truth out to people to where they can get their eyes open, they can see what's happening and prepare themselves for it. God has always worked with the remnant. The same is true now. We're the remnant of Israel, and we are the people that the Lord will use in any situation.
Agreed, man. And it's important to remember, because it's discouraging a lot of times, because you look at stuff and you're like, how can this be the way our world is? How can evil be called good, good be called evil? How can the good guys die out, right? How is this possible that this is happening? And how are the evil people thriving so hard? But we have to understand the system that we're in. The system that we're in isn't a Christian system like a lot of people have been led to tell us, right? The people have been telling us this is a Christian nation, this is all of these different things, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. When you get to the root of the history of our nation, you see the idols that are placed in our capital. You start to see a different story. You start to see that there's a false version of Christianity. You start to see that there is two separate versions of Christianity and the Messiah, who the Messiah is, and is very dominant in the world. The one is not the one that we would like to be dominant. The Jesus we would like to be dominant, the Messiah we would like to be dominant, is not the dominant one in the world right now. There's a worship coming of a master that's going to be so hard for people to see. For even people like me and David, when we see who's coming to the throne, we will see that this man has qualifications. It'll be hard for people to understand what's going on here.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead, David, if you want to say something.
Well, he's going to fool most people.
Yeah.
Like Jesus said in Matthew, if possible, even the very elect. And he's going to fool a lot of people. Like we were talking last week, he will be a king of fierce countenance that can understand dark sentences. And even the people that are closest to him won't be able to figure this guy out.
Yeah. Yeah, and in Revelation it says that he's going to institute laws and he's going to institute things, and one way we're going to be able to tell, like, if what we're talking about tonight is true, and if it is right, we're going to see something happen that is going to be unmistakable according to the prophecy, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And I think actually in the last Mark of the Beast one, we talked a lot about that, because we talked about the head wound being healed, the image of the beast being placed for everyone to worship, etc. So we'll get into that here in a minute. We'll talk more about it. But so this is what, now this isn't biblically what it takes for the Messiah to be accepted. This is what it's going to take for everyone to accept the Messiah here on earth. Now, and obviously there's some of these things are a biblical standard that have to happen for the anti-Messiah, for him to be the anti-Messiah. But it's also going to look like he's the Messiah, because he's going to come as the Messiah. He's going to present himself as the Messiah. He's not going to present himself as, Bob Marley raised from the dead or anything like that. He's going to present himself as the Messiah. So one, he must be a king. We know that this is a king. One, he must claim to be God. Another, he must claim to be God. Another, he must be of the line of King David. Another, he must have power greater than any other on earth. And he must be able to bring the world together to save humanity. Now, David, would you add anything to that list? I know that there's so many other things that we could add probably, but would you say that is a fair list of things that need to happen?
That's a pretty good list of the top 5 bullet points. These are pretty spot on.
Yeah, because, there's a lot of different religions looking for Messiah right now. And 3 of the top ones that I can think of are the Judaism. They're looking for their Messiah. The Buddhists and New Agers are looking for their Messiah, and so are the Islamic people looking for their Messiah. Now, these are the names of Maitreya is the Buddhist / New Age Messiah. I remember a speech where the name of the man escapes me. You would know exactly who I'm talking about, but he made a speech about the Antichrist being in London since
Benjamin Krim.
Benjamin Krim. He made a speech declaring that Maitreya was there in London. And I remember that speech. You remember that speech?
Yeah.
That was interesting. And there's stuff in a book that I'm going to talk about in a minute that associates that time frame with something interesting. And then you have the Mahdi, which is going to have to be something the whole Islamic world will accept as their Messiah. Now, that's a big order to fill, right? To be able to be accepted by the Islam, by the New Age, Buddhists, and to be accepted by Judaism, and to be accepted by the rest of the world is going to be a feat. And a lot of people would say there's nobody alive right now that could possibly fulfill those things. Now, I want to give credit where credit's due, because me and David have been talking about these things a lot. We've been looking into these things, and there's a guy that wrote several books. And because of these books, I had a suspicion for a long time that the Antichrist would be of a certain lineage, because ultimately most lineages of all the powerful people in the world boil down to one area. And these books prove that. And we've talked about this many times in the past and looked it up, looked at the charts, looked at the lore on all of these different families. And by reading these books and also looking at those qualifications, I've come to the conclusion that whoever will be the Antichrist will be out of the royal family that comes from the Welsh. They will be from that family. They're all the families of the world ended up modeling down to the Merovingian, Tudor kings and all of that, and then they culminated into the king that we have now. The king that we have now, King Charles. And when I say the king that we have now, people are like, he's not our king. We got independence from him, independence from them in the United States. But I would beg to differ on that, because I'll show you why I beg to differ that we got independence from Britain here in a minute. But I would definitely beg to differ, and I can show you why here in a minute. So this is another clue that I want to get into real in depth here, because I think that David, you'll have a lot to say about this, and we could talk about this subject. This could be a whole show on its own, really, if we, and I believe we have done shows on this before. And Revelation 13, it says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." Now, the key words that I've highlighted here are "out of the sea." Now, I'm going to read from this book called The Bloodline of the Holy Grail, one of the books that I have on here, and I'm going to go to page 150, and this book is about the Pendragons, and we're going to read about this because this is where this kingship lineage comes from. When it says out of the sea, it's saying out of the sea for a reason. I'm going to read why that reason they're saying it coming out of the sea is right here for you guys, because this is really, really mind-blowing. Okay, so I'm just going to read from here in the 2nd chapter here. If you have this book, this is a chapter you can go to and kind of look at here. So it says, "The immortal sea beast was said to be ever incarnate in a dynasty of ancient kings, whose symbol was a fish. This became an emblem of the Merovingian kings, along with the Lion of Judah and the Fleur de Lis, which was introduced in the late 5th century by King Clovis to denote the royal bloodline of France. Prior to this, the familiar Judaic trefoil had been emblematic on the covenant of circumcision. Both the rampant lion and the Fleur de Lis were later incorporated into the royal arms of Scotland." I'm going to read one more paragraph here. "In Arthurian lore, the Davidic sovereign lineage was represented by the Fisher Kings of the Grail family, and the patriarch line was to denote the name of Anfortas, a symbolic style corrupted in Infortus, meaning in Latin in strength. It was identified with the Hebrew name Boaz, the great-grandfather of David, who is remembered in modern Freemasonry." And it goes on to talk a little bit more about these Grail kings, but it also talks about, this is why we see the symbol of the fish, the Ictus, and this is why we have the Pope that has the mitre. This is where we hear about Dagon, because they all go back to these Dagon, these beasts that came from the sea. When you look back in ancient Mesopotamia, you see that is the same lore where these kings, these Anunnaki, Akkad, or Akkadian kings came, not Akkadian, and then whatever, the Nephilim kings, this is where they came. Anunnaki is the name I'm looking for. Anunnaki kings, this is where the lineage derives from. And so, like we said before, now a lot of people have said, well, how did anything survive? How were there giants after the flood? And I think this gives us a clue why, because there is a family, a lineage that actually comes from a sea beast. And the sea beast, when we talk about the Pendragons, it's pretty interesting. I'm going to read this too real quick, David. It says, "The Sicambrian Franks, from whose female line the Merovingians emerged, were associated with Grecian Arcadia before migrating to Rhineland. As we've seen, they called themselves the New Mage, or the New Covenant, just as the Essenes of Qumran had once been known. This Arcadian legacy was responsible for the mysterious sea beast, the Biste Neptunus, as symbolically defined in the Merovingian ancestry. The relevant sea lord was King Pallas, a god of old Arcadia, whose predecessor was the great Oceanus. In fact, the concept dated back as far as the ancient kings of Mesopotamia, who were said to be born of Tiamat, the great mother of the primordial salt waters." So, David, add something to that, man. I know you got some salt you want to add on there.
Well, from the earliest times, if you look at the serious students of the mysteries like Mr. Garnier and Mr. Hislop, the oldest secret name for God ever known and used in the Babylonian and Sumerian mysteries was Oannes, the beast that come out of the sea. And all of those legends talk about this beast that would come in and teach them their truth and all of this hidden knowledge that he had. And then at night he would slink back into the sea. And when we're talking people that are descended from the sea beast, we're talking about people really descended from the sea beast. And these people were so obsessed with keeping that bloodline pure. You can look at some of the people that are the British royals. You have some really strange looking people, because they would have brothers and sisters marry to keep that bloodline pure. And man, they had some strange looking folks there.
They really did, and I want to read this from this book. This is another book, and I want to also, I forgot to tell you this. The guy who wrote this book, his name is Lawrence Gardner, and a lot of you are familiar with Lawrence Gardner. He was a 33rd degree Freemason. He was director of antiquities for Scotland, and he was also a genealogist for the royal families and for the dukes and all of these different people. He did their genealogies, and he has the list of genealogies here in this book. And so I want to read from this book. This is the Genesis of the Grail Kings. This other one was the Bloodline of the Holy Grail. This one's the Genesis of the Grail Kings. And I'm going to read from the end of the first page and part of the second page here. So it says, from the very earliest of recorded times, dragons have been featured at the forefront of cultural lore, where they have been portrayed in various conflicted guises. The ancient Greeks beloved the dragons were benevolent creatures with the ability to convey wisdom and secrets of life, while in contrast, the early Hebrews saw dragons as the meddlesome purveyors of sin. And this is interesting because this gets into the idea of what we were talking about, St. George. So, to the Celtic races of Europe, the dragon was the ultimate symbol of sovereignty, hence the Dark Age Pendragons, the head of dragons, or King of Kings. So, the Pendragons, the Merovingians, were known as the King of Kings, and this is a title that we see in the Bible with another pagan king called Nebuchadnezzar, right? He was called the King of Kings, which is interesting.
All right. Now we want to make sure we cut the sides off of this. And this little piece don't have anything, but I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to go right on ahead and cut her down. Now, the rest of the video that I put underneath it for y'all to listen to, I'm going to put it on my next video that I'm going to put on my other channel, because I want to finish it out. And somebody asked me to make them one of them little boxes, and I'm going to make them one of them little boxes. So we're going to finish this right here up and get it done. You know. So I'm going to put, I think I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it on the back. I wish that I got a little bit closer here, because yeah, I'm gonna wish I would have. Come on, don't do that. Oh, come on, don't do that. Alright. So, now, let's go finish this up. Alright, here's the signature patch, Japanese basket, poor man sewing, 4/26/24. Alright, now, let's see if we can come up with the size of it. So, there we go. And then that way, we have it done. Now, I'm trying to save a little bit of space so that we can look at that book. So, I'm going to try to do that. If everything flies right. You know it ain't going to. Never.
The animated Walter. And right at that point is when he falls right in front of the famed copper top buildings of lower Manhattan. Remember, we did
60.
top buildings. We think that they might be part of the component of whatever justification weapon that they used to bring
Whatever it is.
directly behind us.
It should be 60 by 60. That's what it should be.
Chickens and fly out of the mouth of this guy. I know he's some famous philosopher or something, or I can't think of him off the top of my head.
Haha, 60 by 60.
Then at this point,
Alrighty.
Walter
So that's good. It's 60 by 60.
60 by 60.
Yeah.
That's pretty good size. Isn't it?
Okay, while you're standing there,
Well, I'll take that back in there.
no, I want you to hold the quilt. Hold the,
Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay.
hold the camera so they can see it.
Comes the ferry down a big pipe. Now we know that pipes are syringes, hollow needles.
Can you
All
see
of
good?
this points
Uh-huh.
to the future
Alrighty.
of the
We
pandemic.
will see you later. Here's the back. Here's the back. Here's the back.
Jab. Now you'll notice that this music playing.
Alright, we'll see you later. I'll show you the book.
This is described in the
Alright, I'm going to make one of these right here, boxes here. Because somebody asked me to make one for them. So hopefully I can remember all of it. Now this is the book that I've been using. There is no pattern. You have to look at it and make your own pattern up. So I'm just going to turn some pages and let you look at it and all. And each quilt is supposed to be different. But if you look at it, you've got a 5 patch here and a 5 patch here and a 5 patch here, 5 patch here. They're all the same. They just put them with a different name. And if you see a yellow on it, that means I've already done it and all. And I've tried to keep these open just in case I want to do another block on it. Then I can. And here's some more. And they're all kind of different, but kind of the same. So, I mean, I'm enjoying doing these. Really, I am. I wished I could see better, but I can't. So I said, well, might as well go ahead and put some of these quilts together and all. And be able to get them done. But really, it's not one thing on my list. But now I was able to get rid of 3 quilts this weekend because one of Rick's friends came down and we all talked and all. And I found out he went and got one of his friends that died, and he got the kids, and all of them have Down syndrome. And I said, well, I'm going to give each one of them a quilt, so they will have a quilt. Ooh, I kind of like that one. But yeah, I like this one too. That's pretty neat. So, that's what I did. I gave him each a oh man, he is so happy. I gave him a old quilt that I done had all the states on it, and they were, each of them were cross stitch in little let's see if they got little about that size right there, and each one of them were different. And I enjoy doing that, but I just can't see it no more to do it. So I'm just going through it. If you want me to take the time to make pictures of each page, not each block, but each page, I can try to do that and put some up here. But now, like I said, if you send me a self-addressed stamped envelope with what you want in it, then I can make the pattern for you and send it to you, or I can send you the one I've got, one or the other. If you don't understand what I'm saying, let's say this right here is the envelope you send me. You send it, it's got my address and everything on it, and I pull it out. Okay, then we'll pretend like this is the other one. And right here at the top, if you put down like the quilt I just done, Japanese basket, then I'll put the pattern down inside of it and send it right back to you. I don't mind doing that. But I cannot afford a bunch of stamps right now. I can't afford. I got brakes I gotta put on, okay? It's like $200, something like that, to put brakes on. So, there's money there and all that good stuff. So, but you can tell there is no pattern. You just have to make the pattern yourself. And I noticed there's a couple other people that's got this book and all. And I kind of like it because I go through it and I come up with the pattern and make the pattern that goes to it. So we got all different stuff in here. Here's animals and all. I don't think I've done any animals, but when I get to see them better and I can see the small stuff, I may end up doing one. But there is what the book looks like. And ooh, got plastic there. So, alright. So, there's what the book looks like. Alrighty, I hope y'all enjoyed, and we will see you later. Well, I didn't know this. They changed where my PayPal is. So here we go. We want to go right here. Still yet right there. Alright, and then if you look, right here is PayPal. I think it's crazy the way that they did not say, you know, they just do things. But there it is.